Hello and welcome to Help the Boy Child Initiative Show, where we talk about issues surrounding the boy child and how we can better raise boys to become better men in society. We are currently in a society where we have a lot of fatherlessness and a lot of young boys growing up without a father figure. And so in this episode, we'll be discussing fatherhood, the importance of fatherhood, who is a father, and we'll also be addressing people that do not have present fathers in their lives. So our guest for today is worthy to actually be our guest for today. He's a father, and he's a father to 3 amazing children, but he has 2 sons. And so it's very important that when we're having this conversation, we need to have with people that have walked the path. So please welcome Mr. Courage-Atayero Ukaonu. Hello, Mr. Ukaonu. So glad to have you.
Thank you very much, Courage.
How are you doing today?
Well, I'm good.
And how do you feel about this interview?
Well, an opportunity to discuss about the boy child that wants to grow the future, that's all.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, so today we'll be talking about fatherhood, and we understand the importance of a father figure or a male figure in shaping boys to becoming men. And you are a father of 2 boys, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
How old is your oldest son, sir?
He will be 23 in June.
How does it feel like to be the father of a 23-year-old? He's a man, a 23-year-old man. How does it feel?
Well, the feeling is, I think it's in phases, actually.
Okay.
But I feel a little fulfilled and grateful to God that we've come this far. Having raised them from being a toddler to this age, the phases have been quite different. But it's quite an experience.
I understand. So when we were talking earlier before the show started, we spoke about, fatherhood, the different phases, and you mentioned something called wilderness.
Yeah.
So would you be kind enough to explain what that season and phase is?
Okay, I remember I said something like having a wilderness experience with your son.
Yes.
For me, mine started at the age of 13, and I wouldn't say it has ended, but it's actually at the verge of ending because at 23, he has become a man. Like I said to you, some people have it long, some people have it short.
Yes.
For people who their children graduate at 19 from university, it means that phase has ended because at that moment, your son begins to discuss issues about life. But if you are still in school, there are limitations that you have in those kind of discussions. And so the level of discipline you exert for a 19-year-old as a graduate is different from that of a 20 or 23-year-old. But having said that, it's long for me because, like I said to you, my son is at the verge of graduating. And the tutelage or that journey it hasn't been easy. And it will not be easy, I must tell you, because the growth stage are in phases. At 13, going to 14, different things happen. But when he gets to 20, especially at 18 actually, he begins to assert his independence, his rights.
I'm an adult.
Yeah, and all that. So your approach to life will also differ. But like I said to you as a parent and as a father, one of the difficult things was for me drawing a line between being my son's friend and still being able to discipline him, keep that leverage.
But how do you create that balance or difference?
Like I said, it's very sensitive. It's a thin line because in an attempt to be his friend, you will have to compromise and accommodate to many other things that you ought not to. So you have to take a decision. But like I said to you, it's when the apostles say to you that what they are bringing to you is that which they have touched and tasted. If you have not experienced it, it's something that you may find difficult because the end result you have to have in your mind will surely happen. And when I say will surely happen, I have the experience to say to you that at the time I wasn't his friend. I wasn't my son's friend, I must tell you. It's not as if they don't tell you things, but the discussions are not that mutual.
Yeah.
But now that he's at this age, I look back and I feel fulfilled because right now my son will call me, we speak for an hour, 2 hours, we're discussing life. Daddy, what do you do at situations like this? When this happens, when I start work, I want to start investing. Tell me how I can go about. Those are things that you will begin to enjoy. But at that age of 16,
14,
18 and all
16,
that,
yes.
no, it didn't happen. Even though we were guiding, we were also, giving directions and all that, but it was a little not that easy.
So it's more like show discipline now in their teenage years, and later we can become friends.
Sure. And in also showing this discipline, it's where we make the mistake. It's as African children. I'm saying the word African.
Yes.
But a lot of us were raised with that raw thing to say anything you do, they beat you. They just beat you and say, don't do this.
You can't speak when I'm speaking and stuff.
But you see, if you inculcate discipline with that fourfold doctrinal thing about the Bible, it's for doctrine, reproof, correction, and instruction.
Yeah.
You see, when you say reproof, that means don't do this.
Yes.
Correction, this is what to do. Instruction, now do. So when we say don't do this to our children, back in the day, we don't tell them how to
do it.
So, and you leave them in a world where they have to figure it out
by themselves.
But now, when you say don't, explain to them why.
Yeah.
You see, so that's what actually has helped me, especially when he attained the age of 18 and was going to university. Yeah. I had to bring in that because you see, at that stage, you see, you do not take away the fact that there's another gender that's going to get involved.
Yeah.
So you have to start guiding them and molding them and explaining to them why so and so things should not happen.
Talking about explaining to them why so and so things. So just on a lighter note. So I remember when I was younger, my dad would beat me, not just my brothers and I. And after beating us, he would ask us why, so after beating us, he would say thank you. So you say, thank you, Daddy, for beating me. And then he will ask, why did I beat you? So when he did that, we understood that the beating wasn't from a place of punishment or, oh, this man is wicked. But it was from a place of, okay, you did something wrong. So you state what you did, and he will ask you, will you do this again? And you're like, no. Like, looking back on it now, it was actually really funny. But now I understand it better. Because, in your days, and how you said it before the show started, how parents will beat you and you'll be they'll beat you somewhat like a criminal. But how were you able to handle those days? And did you train your from how you sound, you are definitely not training your children that way. So how were you able to draw the difference and say, okay, this is how I want to raise my children, and what are the differences in how your father raised you and how you are raising your son now?
Well, good. Just listening to your own story, I can tell the generation where you belong. I mean, somebody would beat you and ask you whether you know. Man, there was no explanation to us, It was that beating alone told you a lot of stories, and then you just needed to stop and go figure out how not to do it next time, So, like I said to you, the generations have changed. At that time, there was no internet.
Yes.
So information age wasn't like this. And, you could not do that. You can't do that at this stage. The information your son gets is even wider than what you may even access to. Because, they have YouTube, they have you are not even in those channels maybe. And, so you have to be very careful. Now, answering your question, I made it clear that I wasn't going to toe my dad's line. Not because he was wrong. Maybe at that time that was what worked for them. But now life is different. At the time they were disciplining us, we didn't have things like mental health. So when people talk about it now, you understand. So these things are new.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, this mental health thing is real because even as you as an adult, you go through a lot of trauma every day. You put on your TV to listen to news, and the next thing you hear is, one attack here, somebody is kidnapped and all that. You go to the other channels or other means, you get this, you're traumatized. So in your dealing with your son or your child, you have to accommodate the fact that these children are also exposed to things that you weren't really akin to in your time. We never really saw pictures of people or videos of people being shot at. Or used or beheaded, all those kind of things. So, but they see these things and it's real to them. So, in explaining to them why, in disciplining them and telling them why, it's important they understand that certain things can no longer be, and this is why it has to change for your future. And if you want to be the person you need to toe this line so that you do not get derailed. And from there, is it immediate? No. they would try you for size. They want to assert their independence. But luckily, for instance, when my son attained 18, one of the first messages I gave to him in the morning was, look, listen, you're now old enough to go to jail. So, and he looked at me stunned. I mean, is
that the first thing you tell
no,
your
no.
18-year-old?
I told him, you see, those things, it may look to you like they are this, but they're sinking.
Yes, they do.
So you discipline yourself. And even in driving, like I told you, I taught them how to drive before sending them to the driving. So driving school was for them to actually be able to get certificate and get their license and all that. But they knew how to drive. But in driving, I also stopped the car one day and I said, listen, there's a thin line between life and death. You make an error, you're gone. So it's either you follow this I'm teaching you, or you want to go the other way.
Yeah.
And so initially they start with fear, but then when they begin to go on, you see that they adjust and appreciate those things you say to them.
So this leads me to the question of, we say, okay, there's because we're in a generation where there's a lot of fatherlessness. So there are so many young men that are growing up without present fathers in their lives, which is a problem. But who is a father, and what is the role of a father in society?
If you asked this question maybe 2 or 3 decades ago during our time, the answers will be very easy to give, because at that time, community, they say it's a community that raises a child, that raises a child. But these days, you discover that you try to discipline another person's child, and the next thing is, do you think you're better than I am? Or that kind of, you get that backlash. Now, if you want to define or say who a father is one that is a man that is responsible and remains accountable to his society. And as much as we may not be able to narrow down on the proper definition, but I'll say this to you. I have made it as a source of my own consciousness that my friend, my brother, his children, their children will remain like mine. I may not be able to chastise them in the way I do for my own son, but if I see your child doing anything wrong, I owe it to you as a responsible person to go back and say, look, listen, if I'm not able to correct him at that time, I'll come back to you and say, look, listen, man, I saw this, and I just felt I should let you know. Now, if what I've said to you accommodates your family values, oh, fine. But my conscience is clear that I have brought out this issue. Because the earlier you start to correct these things, the better. Somebody said that if we do not make the boy cry today, then both of you will cry tomorrow.
Yeah,
so
very true.
I have seen homes where some children are like delinquents. What they go through as parents, you don't wish it for your enemy. I mean, you have a situation where a child could practically take a machete or a knife and chasing the parents around the house, and they are running.
That's ridiculous.
You ask yourself, I mean, what happened?
Yes.
Because some of these things were not corrected at early stages. Now you said, okay, how do you raise somebody that is not that doesn't have a father?
Yeah.
Now I have not done that before, but I can tell you with some hindsight how I try to raise my own children. I bring them to a point to say, look, listen, you have to take responsibility for every action that you embark on. You have to come to a point where you can say to yourself, assuming my father is not here, what would I do? And you also guide them by letting them read some books. For instance, I made my children go read Cain and Abel. If you read the book Cain and Abel, it's not the biblical Cain and Abel, but these are two people that grew up on different sides of the world, one from rich home, one from poor, and had no father and all that. But at some point, the confluence of life brought them together. And, so one took responsibility. So you have to take responsibility. Don't do pity party. If you don't have anybody as a father figure, then consciously create one. Even if you go to the person and the person says no, then you have to find one. There must be somebody around within your network, within your family circle that you can actually relate to and submit. You see, one thing again, you have to learn and be ready to submit to discipline.
So talking about looking around in your circle and neighborhood about father figure, can you give us values for probably a young boy watching this right now that's trying to like find out, okay, I need a father figure in my life, or maybe a single mom watching this, what kind of values should they look out for in terms of when they are looking for at a father figure?
Well, first and foremost, the responsibility must start with the boy or with the child who is looking for a father figure, because if you are not that person, then it will be difficult for you to find that father figure. And what is number one? You have to be teachable. You understand?
Yes.
You have to be ready to learn and submit yourself to discipline. Now, when you have gathered this for your own self, then you are ready. In fact, to get a father figure will not be hard, because you have made it easy for anybody that wants to teach you. One, when I chastise you, you must understand that I did it out of love. And in that chastisement, like I told you, correction will come,
Yes.
reproof will come, and instruction will come. So when you do those things, you encourage and inspire me to do more. And if at all if you have a mother, then she will also understand that, look, you may report me to your mom, but your mom should be able to tell you, look, listen, what he's trying to do for you is what your father would have done had he been around. See, so the boy and the relationship continues. So the responsibility also is on you, the child, and is also on me, the man, or as the man that has elected and chosen to be a father figure to you. Now, the way I will raise you may not be the way I will raise my children. Why? I may give my children certain privileges, but I will not give it to you. And I'll tell you why. If I give you the privileges I give to my children, I will not strengthen you to embark on the world that we are about to face, because the world is not fair. My children will go out, maybe they hear their name. Who are you? Oh, this is an Ukaonu. They help them. But you are not answering my name. So that help will not come, and you will not get that kind of privilege. So you must learn to fight for your own self. And in that process, it's also for me to equip you so that when that time comes, you are not going to feel rejected or let down that life has betrayed you.
So equip in what way?
In terms of training. For instance, I like I said to you, one visited at that time, I would tell him, go and wash my car. This was a process he was not used to. Children of these age, they go to car wash and all that. But go wash my car. When I want something, even at 11 at night, I wake you up, go get me this. So those little things, there are many more, but those little things help to strengthen someone. I'll tell you, there was a time when my children started driving. They'll go out. Sometimes they'll forget, these children privilege, So they'll go out, maybe goes to a supermarket, he will forget the key inside the car and the thing will lock itself. And then he will call me on the phone and say, Daddy, the key is there. I did it 2 times. The third time he called me, I told him, no, I'm not coming. I said,
you would drive?
I would drive. It was close to. Fortunately, it was close to the house, but But then, if it could have been far, I would still go.
Yeah.
So the third time I said to myself, how long will I continue this?
Yes.
So I told him on the phone, you must begin now to build a network. You see all those security men, when I tell you to greet them, all those people that you feel that maybe artisans and all that, why I say you should greet them, it's not because you want to do eye service or you want to carry them as friends, but a time will come when you need their help.
Yes.
And those people, to be honest with you, when you greet them, they feel accepted.
Yes.
And when you are in some problem, it is the one that greeted them that they will help. So I said, begin now to build that. So find somebody around you and do that. So eventually he did that. It worked for him. The next thing I saw, the car came back. He went out another day. He delayed. I called and I said, what's happening? He said, no, that the battery head of the car did this. I said, okay, what's happening? He said, no, he got somebody that will. I said, good. So in my mind, you have learned. So fine.
So you've taught him resourcefulness, you've taught him respect.
You have to source everything you have from your environment. And in doing that is character. So these things, even at home, I make sure that they wash their plates. I make sure that they when they relate with any nanny at home is not on the side of my father is this. And no. You have to come to a point where you can get something from her without her doing it because you are my father. That kind of thing. So that's it's a training on its own.
I think like I can relate to most of these things you're saying because my father is also like in your generation. So I remember when we were younger and he would tell us things like, this is not your TV. This is my television. When you grow up, you buy your own. And at first we were kind of upset about it, but with time, it like we valued and appreciated the privilege that we had because we realized that not everybody has this access that we have. And so he would do things like he would put money on the table, and for 2 weeks nobody would touch it. That money will be there. So we grew up with values such as valuing like family and friendships over money. So if someone should come and flaunt money at us, it's like, how is it? Like we are not moved.
Don't move, yeah.
So these are values that parents and fathers especially should inculcate in their sons so that when they grow up, they are not, so probably they get into positions of power, authority. They're not oppressing people because they have the money, they have access to the money, but they're using it to do the things that they're supposed to do. So I want to ask you, can you share like a valuable moment where you realized that, okay, was it like, so you have 2 sons.
Yeah.
Was it the same way raising the first as it was raising the second?
The principles are the same, so it makes it easier, but the characters are different. The first son, if you notice, is usually not rebellious. One, because
that sense of responsibility.
Yes, and all that. The second one asserts himself because the first one, they always believe that the first one wants to have things and what about them? So they fight for. So, but that is also a virtue on its own. But there are moments where, like I said to you, there are key moments where, as I said, parenting is not easy. You have to actually micromanage. And when we use the word micromanage, a lot of people think that, when they are going to school, you have to be there. When they are doing it, no. You have to find, just try and be around the children, and God will help you. Those moments will come. For instance, in trying to discipline my son in his finances and in living a proper life, I started something with my wife. At that time when we was 14, I said to my wife, look, I want to start giving this boy pocket money. That's my first son. My wife initially objected, but by the time we discussed, had our pillow talk, she agreed and all that. And you see, that process alone is also important because your child has to know. Let him also realize that when he becomes a father, he will one time want to take a decision, but you have to run it with your wife. So that even if there's a disagreement, you must learn for somebody to buy into your vision. Well, that said, we started giving him money. So the account, because of his age, the account was tied to the one my wife opened. So each time she'll get an alert. And we discovered that it will be biscuits, all those sweet, soft drink, and all those kind of things. We never called him aside to say, why are you spending your money like this? My hard-earned money. No, I never. Let him understand the choices. Let him make his preferences. And moments will come. Then one day he comes to me, maybe I think after a month or two, he came to me saying, Daddy, I want to cut my hair, I need money. I said, what money do you need? I gave you pocket money. He said, is it part of it? I said, yeah. You have to save from there. So that stopped. He started saving from there. But then those meat pie things didn't stop. So we continued. Then one day, the brother was, I think I was on his birthday. He wanted to go watch cinema. And I gave money. He didn't know how much I gave. So they entered the car. That time they had learned how to drive. They entered the car, they were going. Then the next thing I heard, somebody came back to the room and said, Daddy, he said you gave money for only his. I said, yes now. He said, what about me? I said, but you have your pocket money, didn't you? You should have saved something. He said, Daddy, it's finished. I said, no. He said, but I want to go and watch cinema. I want to go and watch film with him. I said, no problem, you can go. He said, but what about the money? So in that argument, that was the key moment. He said to me, okay, Daddy, can you lend me some money? And then I said, what? You want to start at this age to learn how to borrow to go and fund pleasure? You better kill that. In fact, let it die in you at this moment. You see, that's what I'm saying, being a friend. It is not a smiling thing. You turn your face and say it. So he knows that, look, this must be. So eventually, I don't know how he negotiated his way through. Whether he went for the cinema, I didn't know, but I know that he didn't borrow the money. But mothers, they will always, because my son won't be alone and all that. So that's it. Now, that singular event, do you know that after that singular event, we stopped receiving those alerts?
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, there was a complete change. You ask him, you didn't buy? I say, no, I'm saving my money. And in fact, there's one book I want to buy and I need to save. I said, okay. I pinched myself. I said, okay, it works. So, those are those things I say. There are many other moments. I mean, but we can go on and on, but those are pivotal to training a child.
That's very deep. So fathers provide that sense of security, correction, discipline, showing the child the way to go.
Yeah.
So, but fathers are also providers, and I know you're a very busy man. So, and you also sound like a very active father. So, how do you balance being busy and being present in the life of your children?
That will be depending on the career or the part or the occupation the dad engages in. For instance, you can have people who, I mean, to put food on the table, they are virtually out of the house.
Yeah.
On journeys and all that, so you can, but hopefully the woman or the mother provides that kind of succor. But then, when you come back, you must make it, see, that's why I say parenting is not easy. You must make it a point of duty to ask what has happened in your absence. Talk to them, school, start somewhere. I mean, like I said, you are not friends, so you are not likely to get the kind of response you want. But start from somewhere. So for me, I elected to do school run. For 1 year, I elected to do school run. A lot of people didn't understand why, but those 5-10 minutes drive. Affords you moments to not just bond, but to discuss certain things about life and find out what's going on, and then even bringing them back from school, and. It's too many. I mean, it's viral, but the truth is that you have to create time for your children. Because if you don't, with the way society is now, it's either the nanny or some driver or the YouTube or TikTok will raise them. And before you debunk or correct some of these things, the character is formed.
Yeah, it's formed.
And so it becomes a little dangerous. Now, also, you have to be around, because if your child is struggling for something, the first inspiration he will get will be from his parents. I want to use father, because we're discussing fatherhood. Good. Now, I have a daughter. I take her for gymnastics. I knew why every Saturday I do that. I know why she wanted to do that. So it could have been any event. But the reason why I elected to do that was because I know she was going to struggle. You see, when she wants to do all that flipping and all that thing they do, and she's not able to be honest with you, if you send a house help or a driver along with her to go, when she comes crying, because these are children, when she comes crying, what the house help says, may use those native words that they think as harmless, but it can demoralize. May say, oh, Lodo, may say, look at you, other children, and she will go back depressed
and feeling defeated.
But she comes to me, because when she wants to do all that flipping, wants to turn, I say, when she comes to me, I say, look, listen, you can do this. Don't cry. Your first point is not to cry. Do this, do that. Okay, don't worry. Even if you don't get, when we go home, I will help you. So she feels energized. She feels inspired. So she tries to get there. But when she doesn't get it, even when we get home, she will now want to do it. And I have to be there to help. You see? So these times are created. But what you don't understand is that those things you think they are doing it for that event alone, it is translating into other various aspects of her life. So that she understands that, look, I can't give up. I can do this. So same thing with the boys. I made them to
Do you have any experience like that with your sons?
Yes, I do. In playing football. When you come from a home where some level of comfort is available, you go to the street and you want to play ball. You see that those boys, you're playing ball with some boys who, those older days, they say if you miss the ball, don't miss the leg. They are rough. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So when you're playing, they have stamina.
Yes.
They quack you, And when they do that, the next thing is like some boys will do. My son never did that, but then you see some boys, they run to their father. Hey, he pushed me. He did, and then even those parents will now want to go and want. I said, look, I told one, I said, look, you're not helping this boy. You're not helping. But that's aside. Now, I had to, when I took them to play ball, so my first son was playing football with people around his age. So I called the coach. I said, look, listen, I'm the father. If you want me to sign a consent form, I will do that for you. I want this boy to play with a certain level of, I told him the age.
Like older people?
Yes, older people. He said, I said, do that. And when you do that, put him in defense. So eventually, there are several, but those things helped him. Because he will now go out, he will now drive out. When he drives out, he's no longer scared.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And I noticed that the man has started forming. Yeah.
So it's from the day-to-day activities that translate into life.
Life.
Wow.
It can happen. I mean, if you don't have opportunity for them to play football, it can even be
from the house. Any other thing.
It can be from the house. For instance, when we go out with my mom, with my wife, and we are going to come back late, I make sure that he stays awake to open the door when we come back. My wife said, why don't you take the key? I said, no. They must learn it. You stay awake. Initially when we come back, they may be asleep, but when we knock, I know they will be sleeping.
Yes.
But you see, the ability to train a child to have that sense to remain half awake.
Yes.
Or to react when he's asleep is also something, is a training on its own.
Yes.
You don't sleep deep. So when we come back, sometimes, initially when we are knocking, oh man, it was horrible. But I didn't scold him. I said, you know what happened? You slept and forgot yourself. He said, well, how do you sleep and not forget yourself? I said, they don't teach it. But do not let it be that Cain has to, that kind of thing. So, but second time, he understood. So now, I mean, it grew to so many other things.
Yeah.
So those things we're saying. I mean, there are a myriad of things we can talk about, but, those are key moments.
So to young fathers watching this, so how do you differentiate? How do you know when to bring the rod? How do you know when to keep quiet? How do you know when to instruct?
By benefit of hindsight, I'll tell you that this thing should start very early.
Like, when you mean early, like what age?
From the time they gain consciousness, even at 1, even when they start to crawl. I'll tell you why. When children start to crawl and you say, don't touch that, just like I told you, they will try you for size.
Yes.
You'll see he wants to go there. Warn him, if you go there, I'm going to beat you. And truly, if he does that, make sure that you let it down. You see, in beating a child that is a toddler, it's not with your whole strength. You know what I mean?
Yes.
There are ways you can, and you show him that
yes.
this is. Then when he's crying, allow him cry. Then later you do the carrot. That's where you can be a friend, so that he knows that you are not a wicked man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So these things have to start early. And then when they grow to 10 years, the appetites begin to change.
Yes.
Their senses, especially in this age and all that, you begin to control a lot of things. When their TV time and all that, because even the TV time, the longer you spend, it affects your academics and all that. So those are those things. They will hide to do that. But when you go out and come back and you will see the TV on, but as soon as you are parking the car, it's off. They have dashed. Make sure they know that you saw it.
Okay.
But that you didn't say anything does not mean it is right.
Yeah.
So if it becomes a continuous thing, then you must find another way to effect that discipline. But having said that, I will say this to you, and I'm being honest. I think this modern time, the modern way of raising children, maybe I'm wrong, has affected a lot of things. In terms of men taking responsibility. I mean, children, not just men, in terms of children taking responsibility. Too many parents want to be on the good books of their children. They are afraid of their children. Oh, what if he runs out of the house? What if he runs out? You see, you have to come to a point where you're not just raising your child because he is an Ukaonu. You're also raising your child because the society needs him tomorrow.
Yes.
And that said, we also need to understand that, look, there was something happened in my son's school, and they wanted him to snitch on a boy. I went privately to the headmistress, to the principal, and I said, look, listen, what you're asking this boy to do, I know that you want to protect your school, but you're going to is defeatist. This boy one day, what if one day he becomes a soldier and finds himself at the back of enemy lines? Are you going to tell me that you will want him to divulge state secrets because of this? So it's from here you start to grow. I'm not saying that what they did was right, but he wasn't the offender. You suss it out for yourself. But don't let my child be a snitch. Because between his friends and all that, that code is broken.
Yes.
So these are things we must be very careful of. And it's because of the way you have put the school, that's why these things are happening. So they hide to do some of these things. Make them understand that this is life. And when they can come clean, but of course, there are consequences for some dirty things.
Yeah.
The more severe ones, you let him know that, look, you do this, you're out of the school. So they won't do those ones.
Yes.
But allow them to grow up as men. But listen, I will not understand, will not accept that my son will be a snitch. I will not accept that. And the way I spoke to her, she understood that, look, man, this parent is not one of those ones you can count.
Yes.
And life went on. How they caught them, I don't know. But my son left that environment without being regarded as a snitch. And that was for me satisfactory. Did I scold him at home? I said, yeah. But, in scolding him also, I had to understand what happened. Certain things are inevitable. I mean, if you are reading your book and people are doing things, are you now, how is that my problem? So it's a long story, but the truth is that you have to protect that male factor in a child.
Wow. You have to protect that male factor in a child. So lastly, how does a father become emotionally present for their sons? Because there are so many men that do not know how to be emotionally available. So a lot of men feel like, okay, I'm a father, I just provide money and that's it. But how do you provide emotional support to your son?
Well, he has challenges. There are things that they go through. And when you talk about emotional support, I do not expect that it will be that I will cry with you.
No.
No. The thing is that I have to make you realize that I understand what you're going through. And it also comes in phases. For instance, when your child is 5 and the emotional, you understand.
Yes.
But let's get it to the adult part because this is very important. At that moment, they are going to translate into life. One thing was clear for me. Before my son entered university, I had to warn him. I said, look, listen, after, like I told you, you can go to jail. The other things I said to him was, look, listen, in dealing with the opposite sex, you have to be very careful, especially in your own world. Never you be found alone with her in a room, not just for anything, but look, let it not be her word against yours, because if she goes out there to report to the authorities that you try to do one or two things to her, before you finish defending yourself, the term is gone and you have lost a lot of leverage. A lot of milestone and all that. So also understand that there are heartbreaks that come with it. When you get involved with them, you have to understand that when they want to leave, it's like the end of the world. So you have to cope with those moments. And then lastly, I said to him, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm not going to force it on you, but there are 2 examples I'll give you. Is your choice in life. Be responsible. Make sure you're ready to take the responsibility. You're going to school to be somebody in life so that you can become somebody in life. Now, if you choose at this stage to have a girlfriend, let me tell you the difference. If you're going to a class and Jessica is just a platonic friend, a regular girl you have, and they say to you, oh, Jessica is sick. She hasn't been in school, all that. 2 things will happen. You will go to school first, finish your lecture, do your homework, and at your leisure time, you can go and see Jessica. There is no problem. But if Jessica is your girlfriend, and you're going to school, and they tell you that Jessica is sick, you will abandon your class, abandon your homework,
follow woman,
and then you go and look after Jessica. Before you know it, you have a backlog of homework to do.
Yes.
And then the mission for which you went to will begin to suffer. The choice is yours. There was no discussion further. And, it's glad to know that
he did not follow Jessica.
Well, and then he saw it. He saw the result. And he said, okay, good. So So by and large, just be there for them, but in also being emotional. I can relate with Nkechiene's message in Wolfbeck, where she talked about when the disciples were rowing and all that.
Yes.
Allow them. You're seeing, but sometimes you need to allow them. They are growing to be men. You're not just raising. Like one man says, "I'm not raising a son. I'm raising a father." You know, be there for your. I also teach them. One of the things I teach them: look, always be there for your mother. Because women, mother, sister, they are emotional beings. There are times when we have quarreled and she just needs to have the support of her children. When you see your mom in those kind of moods and all that, go to her and learn how to be there for somebody. It's also part of the training. That's it.
Wow. Wow. I've learned so much, and I also believe that our viewers have learned a lot. But if I'm taking one thing away from this entire conversation, it would be that fatherhood is an intentional journey.
That's right.
It's one that a man goes out and says, okay, I'm going to be present for my children. And even though you have to travel, even though you may not be around all the time, always find out, always be curious, always find out, okay, what happened when I wasn't around, and see how you can be involved in the life of your children. Thank you so much, Mr. Ukaonu. It was such a pleasure having you.
Thank you, Courage.
And God bless you.
You too.
So it is clear that as a society, we definitely need more present and able fathers. And so I'm leaving you with this charge. I hope that as you've watched this video, you don't only keep it to yourself, but you share it with other people that will definitely learn from this. And also making the conscious decision to raise better men in society, but primarily deciding by yourself that you are going to be intentional about not only your children, but also giving counsel, giving advice to other young men around you. Please do not forget to like this video. Do not forget to comment. Don't forget to share. And definitely do not forget to subscribe. I'd like to thank every single person behind the scenes that worked tirelessly to ensure that this production was a success. Thank you so much, and see you in the next video. Bye.